you all that the retreat is really a way for people to hear that clear voice from people in their community doing what they do, that it's okay to take care of themselves and to not just have to give. And this idea of self-care, not as a quick fix so that you can just do more, like, ooh, let's fit in this, whatever meditation or this. Well, what I did today was I went for a workout, is like, it's great to have those practices, but maybe not as a management so that you can do more, and some people do use self-care in that way. And so it's that self-care is really not a quick fix, but thinking of it more as a long-term win-win for yourself and everyone involved, everyone around you that you're connected to. So that's kind of the clear message that I want to offer people. And so, Robin, you might be noticing if you can all maybe put on, oh, Tom Burden, how nice to see you. Hi, how wonderful, from the Embodiment Conference. If you could just, everyone maybe put your full gallery view on, who is ever is the facilitator for the breakouts, because of course, just a reminder, the encouragement is to, as breakout facilitator, that you can sort of see what's going on for people and just watch what's happening here to see anything that might need a reach out, and so sending a private message along and just saying, we're here for support, or even a public message for everyone that makes sure that everyone knows that there are facilitators here that are ready to support as we go through. Because self-nurture, we might think it just, it feels great. It's nurturing, of course, it's wonderful, but if that part of us that needs it so badly has been stuck in a dark corner for a really long time and not had it, it can actually be triggering. So just to keep that in your awareness as we're going through. I look a little bit overlit here somehow. So as we start off, I'm just gonna look at we're gonna start off in about a minute's time, I guess. Do I have my clock right?
Yeah, I've got 2 minutes. Do you want me to admit the other 2 people that are on hold?
Yes, please. Yeah, you can let people in now. So welcome to Judith. Hi. Nice to see you. Sort of see you. And Diana, hi there. I don't see you, but I feel your presence. So thanks for being here. Just as we're leading in, Kathleen, did you have anything that you wanted to speak to, or anything that was important for you? So you're good?
I think so. I just hope I don't get all this technology piece messed up. That's all.
Oh, yeah, right. So
a little bit of tension around that, because this is not my forte.
Yeah. Well, we're all these imperfect, people. So luckily we all have experiences of not being able to do things, and we can relate to that if that happens. So, well, I'm so glad that you're all here together. This is great. I'm really happy to have just the support of the team that is here right now. Claire has been a huge support in helping me develop this entire thing, and Robin has really supported me with a lot of coaching, trade-offs, so that when things came up and became difficult for me, Robin was there and helping me reorient myself to nurture, and come back to that place where I can give that to myself, even though there's lots of balls in the air and I am trying to sort through so much at the same time. And Leela has also been a huge support, because introducing me to yoga therapy and being such a wonderful teacher in that area, again reorienting myself to inhabit my body more and to tune into what's available in the body. That has been a really exciting journey with Leela, and to now also be working with her has been really a supportive thing on all fronts. So I feel so nurtured by the people that are actually here, including Tom Burden too, because you know, he was a big part of the Embodiment Conference and a host on many occasions, I think, and just very, I want to say, brought a lot of new awarenesses by being there in the conference in the way that he was, and hosting all the people coming in. So lots of wisdom and commitment in this room, in this retreat space. Also, Russell Roper has been a very good sort of grounding support for me, with his influence as well as a dear friend for 25 some odd years, I think. So, and Trina Fleming here as well. Hi, Trina, good to see you. So as people are coming in, I'm just going to now move into a bit of the content. And so after really considering what this hour might bring us, I thought that it would be one way to start off this part of the retreat would just be to dig in a little bit to an actual experience, a body-mind experience. So, hello, Desiree. Hi, Tamara. If we can now just take a kind of a breath, take a look at the faces around the room, see maybe if there's some eyes there that feel good to look at, that kind of, that you're like, oh yeah, I could connect with that person, or oh, that's a really pretty thing on the wall, or just have a little look around and settle into yourself, settle into the weight of wherever, wherever you happen to be now, settling into the weight of your, whatever's touching the floor, whatever's touching support. And if you feel comfortable closing down your eyes, just shutting down a little bit, looking in, and just for a moment, imagine that someone who feels very supportive to you, someone who's caring has meant you felt supported in your life, is just there near you, and they reach out now, and imagine their warm hand arriving on the center of your back. And just imagine that hand with all of the intent behind it. And let me know if there's anything that comes to you about that person that you feel you might have inside of yourself, that support. And just think about that for a moment. That hand is there. Feel the pressure. And just as an experiment, let's think about a hand now that is actually your own. Let's make that hand your very own. The same caring support. Something that has your back. Just the way that you would have a friend's back. Maybe a family member. Just notice what happens in the body when you sense that support. So just coming back to engagement here with each other, and knowing that, you know, there are people that have your back. So including yourself for this evening. I'm really, really excited because I have someone here who is a really, I want to say, knowledgeable, but also experienced in self-nurture and wanting to bring something special to to the table tonight. So Kathleen Gorman is here, and she is going to be sharing a little bit later on what self-nurture journey has looked like for her. And so before, I just wanted to actually have a moment here where we can unmute, because there's only 17 people here. So do we want to go to breakout rooms or stay together? If you want to go to a breakout room to introduce yourself and say something, you can just raise up your hand. Or if you feel like the 17 of us can just do that now, then keep the hand down. You're good either way, Desiree? Okay.
Yeah, I like to be with everyone.
Okay, you'd like to be with everyone. Awesome. So let's briefly, we'll start with you, Desiree. Just your name and one sentence about you that you think is important for people here to know.
Me, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm Desiree, and I work really hard teaching at university, and I study embodiment practices, but I have trouble getting work at university teaching that.
Okay.
And I need a lot of self-care and nurturing.
Okay, beautiful. You're at the right place. That's wonderful. Okay, thanks, Desiree. I'll turn it over to Michelle. Michelle, do you want to add something?
Me? Hello?
Just where you are, and just tell me one thing about yourself that you want the group to know tonight.
Oh, well, I'm Michelle, and I guess the one thing I'd like everyone to know is I am a nurturer, but I tend to forget about myself.
I'm so glad to see you. And Jane?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so well. Great to see you. Anything that you want to share with the group? I know you're coming in from Squamish.
I am. I'm here in Squamish, and sunny Squamish that it was today. And so what are we doing? We're sharing...
Just one thing in a sentence that you'd like the group to know about you.
In one sentence. That's tough, Shealagh.
I know, sister.
What do I want you to know? I am diverse. I am a dance instructor. I'm also an energy worker. I work with people in efficiency of movement in the Feldenkrais practitioner mode. So Feldenkrais method of movement. So it's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's literally like,
Exactly. Yeah, hope that was yummy.
Yeah, and what about you, Russell? Do you have anything? Can we unmute Russell, Robin? Yeah, there we go. And just where are you coming? You're calling in from Ucluelet.
Yeah.
And any one thing about yourself that you think the group would want to know?
Spend more time outdoors. Go to the beach.
Perfect.
Go to the woods. It's much easier there with organic sound.
Yeah, I love it. You've been the advocate for that in my life, actually. Thank you for doing that, for being that for me.
No problem.
And Rose, can we hear from Rose if she's willing? Apparently not. Trina, do you want to share one thing about yourself? You're calling in from Squamish.
I don't really know what I want to share, to be honest.
You can, and I'll let you know.
What you're doing. And sorry. Oh,
we couldn't hear you properly.
Sorry.
We couldn't hear you because voice was going a little funny, but
oh, okay.
Good. Come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks. And Kat. It's Kat's iPad. Awesome. She's unmuted.
Ooh, I'm Kathy. Auntie Kathy to Shealagh. And I'm green, totally green. This is all new to me, so I'm I'm looking forward to learning.
Great.
That's about it.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. I feel so supported. And Diana, if you're willing, do you want to share anything?
Do you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I'm in the dark. I don't have my camera on, but I'm just here to learn and share.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And Candace? Share? You want to unmute Candace?
Hello.
You can hear you now.
Cool. Yeah, my name's Candace. I love to help people, and I'm not so great at helping myself, so I'm looking for some tips.
I'm so glad you're here. It's really good to
Thanks.
see you. Yeah. And yeah, I'm going to leave. There's facilitators that we have here. I wanted to introduce them quickly. We have Leela Stewart here. She is actually going to not facilitate a breakout room tonight, but she will be presenting on day 7. So she is a yoga therapist and an author and a wonderful international teacher. So really excited for Sunday for that. And Roger is a Hakomi practitioner, certified, and he also works in hospice. He's out of Powell River right now. Leela's in Australia. And we've got Robin, who is our tech host. She is in Texas, and she is a body-centered coach, among other things, wonderful crafter. We have Kathleen Gorman, who's a presenter tonight, and Claire Hewitt is also with Igniting the Creative Spark, and that's in New Zealand, where she's coming in from. She's also one of the group facilitators, so we'll see how that all rolls tonight with the numbers that we have right now. So then we have someone else to hear from, which is Tom. Tom, did you want to say anything?
No, I got nothing.
You got nothing? Okay.
I'm just here to learn.
Okay, that's wonderful. So if you're ready to go into a bit of a nurture check, let's have an experience where I'll invite you to reach out your hand as if you're grabbing a dial in front of you. So there's a dial in front of you, and it's called self-nurture. So if you want to take that dial and just turn it to wherever you may think where your body really wants to take it, to say where you feel your nurture level is right now. You might think of it like a stove handle or whatever comes to you, and just see where it stops. And just noticing where that might be. Is that 1/3 of the way? Is that 2/3 of the way to the full? Is it all the way? So just noticing, mine is about 2/3. 2/3. I was pretty good today. Took care of myself. So I'm feeling nurtured. So now that you have that experience, I want to just let that lock into what you're, what you're going to look at later, and maybe come back to that at the end and see how it all pans out once we've had some time together. The next piece I want to do is sorry, I have a bit of a dog barking in the back here, but I'd love to see if you would, if you'd like to just take a moment and find your most comfortable seated position. And once you're here, let's have the shoulders, see if you can get a little movement in the shoulders. Just open yourself up a bit. Maybe you can close the eyes if you feel so moved. And now that you know where your self-nurture is at, I just want to take one quick moment to tune into the bigger picture, the bird's eye of what you would like your self-nurture to be. So just imagining yourself so pampered. You in some kind of a situation with others or by yourself that feels the most nurturing. If you can imagine where you might be what smells might be there, what colors, what's around you. This is you getting everything you need. And as you imagine, maybe it's just one or two things coming in. Let's have a small lift. Let's take a lift of the chest. Take the chest up a little bit. Let the shoulders roll back a little more. And actively feel yourself receiving whatever that nurturing thing is. Taking it in. Taking it in, breathing it in, and then letting it come all the way down into the very bottom of your torso. And coming back when you're ready, opening up the eyes or coming back to awareness to us. And I'm going to bring Kathleen in to have a little chat with Kathleen. So let me just change my view here and get Kathleen. Okay. So Kathleen,
Yeah.
I know we have been, your volume is a little bit low. But yeah, there you go. Now, I wanted to just talk a little bit about, I met you in Edmonton, and you have been really an advocate for self-care in many different realms. And the realm that I saw you in was helping professionals. Mm-hmm. You were really giving some of the really key pieces around self-nurture for helping professionals. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, if there was been an experience in your life that you wanted to share about, you really wanted to put self-nurture at the top of the list. You wanted to bump it up there, and what happened, if you have something like that to share.
Well, I was going to share about actually what helped me to realize I needed to bump self-nurture up to the top of the list.
Perfect.
And that was back in the middle 90s. And I have always worked in some way, shape, or form with some kind of individual, family, community trauma. And I was in my my adopted community back east. I'm from the East Coast originally, and doing a lot of therapy, a lot of trauma therapy, working with individuals who are, I was living and working on reserve. It's my adopted reserve. Mm. And lots of violence, lots of strife, lots of struggle, and lots of very big events that had taken place in that community. And this one particular day, I was driving a physician to a home visit to somebody who had very great mistrust of the system, but had finally consented to have somebody come in, a physician come and take some blood because we had some concerns. And it's in a very rural area, and we are driving along. I'm driving, and I can still remember it like it was yesterday. And this doctor, who I know very well, very friendly, very lovely man, he started to sink down in the passenger seat. And I kept sort of glancing over, and I finally said to him, "Alain, what are you doing? Why are you doing that?" And he said to me, "Isn't this the road where everybody gets shot at?" And I said, "Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I haven't been shot at. You're good." And we just kept going, and we did this visit. And when I got home that night, to my home there in the community, it was like I all of a sudden got met at the door by that comment that I had made in the vehicle and said, "What was that? How could I even say, oh, don't worry about it. I haven't been shot at. You're good." And that was like a big revelation for me to recognize I was so immersed in the chaos and the violence, and having come from that in my own personal life as well as a child, that I had totally disconnected from any kind of wellness, any kind of understanding of what that was doing to me. I was just totally normalizing, like beyond normalizing. And I really, that was for me a very pivotal moment of reflection when I think about, whoa, what are you doing? What have you lost? How do you need to try to come back? This is not normal to make comments like that. And started to really tune into just even my own community and how all of us were living that. So I think that was a really big pivotal moment for me, Shealagh, where it was like, okay, we need to stop. You know, we're almost too far gone here when you start normalizing the kinds of things that I was normalizing.
Yeah, yeah. And it does that we do get to that point of like, I love what you're saying about realizing, you know, when it's gotten to that. And when you did take that in, what happened?
Well, I actually started to take some immediate action. And one of those things was actually because I was a trauma therapist and I knew all this stuff, but I wasn't applying it to myself. And I went and I got some professional help. I really need to sort through what was I doing? What was the best for me? And I was starting to notice, once I became aware of it, the wear and tear on my body, on my spirit, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I was kind of just walking in a fog, thought I was still doing good work. And I think to some degree I was still doing good work, but we were all in a fog. So I really had to make some really tough decisions. I had to step back and start to really pay attention. And ultimately, which was very hard for me, still hard for me sometimes to even talk about, was I ultimately decided that for my wellness and my ability to continue to be in this world in a way that is as a helper, I actually had to leave my community. So it was quite drastic, actually. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened within probably 9 months.
Yeah, that is a big one. Having to walk away from something and knowing when to let go.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. So I know that you had talked about, when I went to this really great workshop with you in Edmonton, I heard you talk about your cabin out east. And I got really curious and fascinated by this, that you have this getaway. And can you tell me a bit more about, you know, that getaway of, you know, you moved away from a place where you were connected to a lot of people, and you found that self-care, you know, needed to come in. And was that part of your answer, or part of the?
Yeah, well, I've always been very connected to nature. That's part of, I grew up in a very isolated, I grew up in the bush. And even though I live in the city here in Edmonton, it's a tough sell for me as part of the self-nurture piece, but I've managed to make a few things work here. So that's always been a part of who I am. When I left my community, I went back east and I went to Newfoundland, and I took a job that still was in the field, but I took a little bit of a distance. I was supervising others, and I had visited a lot to this other part, and friends of mine had always shown me this cabin that you're talking about. And when I moved there, it's almost like, you wonder sometimes what Creator puts in front of you. I think I wasn't there 2 weekends, and I got a call saying this cabin was for sale. And so I went and I essentially bought it. It's in a very, very remote site, and it's exactly, for me, what's important to me is to be far away from everybody, to be, yes, having those organic sights and sounds, to have a felt sense of being in a place that is very spiritual for me. It's very much a retreat. It's very rejuvenating, and it's just, you know, birds and the wind and silence, and it's the absence of noise and the rawness of Newfoundland, if any of you have been there, that helps to fill me up.
Yeah, I can get a sense of it, even because we've done a lot of trips there. I have some family there as well. And I know you were talking about, something that stuck in my mind was this bird of yours that you I'm really curious about the bird. If you could tell me more about the bird.
So this, the bird appears in all of my self-care presentations in various photos. His name is Zorro, and he's a gray jay. Out west, we call them Whiskey Jacks. And when I bought the cabin in 2002, this gray jay was a juvenile. And of course, they're brazen to begin with, but he and I developed a relationship. And he would sit on my hand without food, and we would just hang out. I'd sit outside by the lake. It's my cabin is right on a lake, and they do call that one a lake, not a pond, like most things get called in Newfoundland. And we would just sit together with this bird on my hand, and we just created this relationship. And of course, I would be there as many weekends as I could. And then in 2006, I moved to Alberta, and that was one of the biggest challenges for me, was to actually leave my cabin and Zorro and the rest of the gang. And I get back there once a year, and every year when I get there, as soon as I guess they hear the sound of a truck and doors and things going, Zorro and gang appear. And Zorro comes right down to me immediately, even though I'm only there once a year. My father-in-law is always amazed by the fact that this bird, because he won't come to anybody else, and they are pretty friendly, but he'll just come right to me. So it's a big part of my self-care plan, he is. And I've done some research because, of course, that 2002 was a long time ago when he was born. And they can live in the wild for 18 to 22 years. So we're getting towards so every year when I go back, there's sort of a trepidation there. But so far, he's there to greet me. He's usually yelling at me. And I do have the picture up, but I'm not quite sure she'll have to put him up there on the screen. So it is a big part of a connection that I feel with animals and birds in general. It's a big part of who I am. But I think the fluidity, the consistency, the connection that I have with this particular gray jay and he has with me is a huge part of what keeps me still when I need to. I can only get there once a year, and I'm grateful for that. But when I need to know Zorro's around, I just pull up his picture.
Yeah.
Just think about him as we are, and I just feel that go right through me, and I feel my smile just kind of light up everything, right? Because he's just a significant part of my self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that, that his picture can drum up all the experiences of when you're at the cabin. And I just love that you go to cabin and you're away from everything for a considerable amount of time.
Absolutely.
That is like right up my alley. I love that. So I wanted to, think about this bird's eye view of self-care and just have a moment or two talking about how, your thoughts around if we were to look from above and look at our lives and look at the self-care practices, is there something that helps us connect to that yes, it's for ourselves, but also this idea that it does sort of reverberate out from us and in fact impact everyone when we're taking better care of ourselves, sort of giving us a bit of that idea and what your thoughts are of that.
Yeah. So, obviously, and we all know this, I have to take care of me before I can be present for anybody else. I have to be present for myself. And the benefits of finding all different ways to do that, so that we can nurture ourselves, also supports our relationships, our connections to others. It supports how we attune to our family, our friends, our clients, whoever our clients may be. It just supports how we even regulate our nervous systems. It's got so many benefits of finding moments of connection. There's moments of awe that we can keep with us in some way, shape, or form. And I went at these workshops I give. I say, people always have stuff on their phones. Maybe it's their kids. Maybe it's Zorro. Maybe it's a place. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's a painting. things that allow us to take that moment of connection so that we can then connect with others around us. And I really feel that sometimes we make the idea of self-care too onerous, too big. And it's really about those moments of awe and building those kinds of rituals into our lives that don't have to take time, because we know we don't have a lot of time, even if we should. And that's usually the biggest barrier. So it's just how do we be in the here and now with these moments of awe and keep them around us so that we've got all these tools in our toolbox when we need them. And not only when we need them, but that we're doing them when we feel good, actually, so that they're really getting embedded in our systems, in our physiology, in our meaning making. So I don't know if that answers your question, Shealagh, but that's the way I see it. I really see that that's how we have the ripple out effect where it benefits everybody.
Yeah, I can really feel, even for myself this year, becoming a better friend to myself in the way that I, my self-talk, relating to the different parts of myself in a more kindly way, that I actually can be more compassionate for other people because I'm not already internally all frustrated with myself, right? And up to here, and then someone comes up and asks me a simple question, I'm like, what is that? So yeah, I really, I'm hearing you say that, and I love what you're saying actually about it not being onerous and not being another thing for your to-do list, but just a way of tuning in to what's available right now. So, and that's really what this retreat is about, is having experiences like that to help settle the nervous system. And they can be very basic, simple things, like we all know, like tuning into the wilderness, the rest of life, whatever really feeds your soul about what's around you, and taking that in. So that's great to hear about that. And can you tell me also just a little, this last minute here or so, about something about the neuroscience piece of it, or, really the body-mind practices? Like, so for me, I know that, human touch, whether it's your own or someone else's, actually activates the mammalian system. And so then, that goes in and starts to settle the nervous system. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, of course. A lot of us know about this. But then it starts, like you said, about the body memory. It starts to create the body memory that, safety is present, that safety is here. And I loved, I think it was Mark Walsh who actually said to me that it's really safety, he said, is not about the absence of threat, because that's kind of impossible, right? We can't create a life that is so protected and so safe without any of the harmful things that finally we might find a safety, experience. But safety more as the presence of connection. Connection to ourselves, that we can go in, we can be there with ourselves, with our experience in a kind way, and then come and still feel connected. We don't have to shut down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is there any thoughts on those pieces, anything of your experience that tells you about that?
Well, I think you just described it pretty well, Shealagh. I think if I could say anything to that, is if we're not able to be in that mindful here and now, in the present moment, we're not going to be able to really assess what's happening inside. And that's when we start to perhaps not recognize some of our nervous system flags that are starting to go off in our amygdala or wherever to say safety is not exactly present. The more that we can actually attune to ourselves and stay in that moment, we're going to be able to, and I always say this, always scanning with curiosity. And I think that if we can keep curiosity about what's happening, what's going on, what am I noticing, then we actually can move through it quite fluidly with whatever the different techniques are that we choose to avail of.
Right.
But we have to be curious about what's going on, and that's what I invite all of my clients who are, you know, working with complex traumas. Can we look at things with curiosity instead of fear?
Mm-hmm.
And notice, and what do we want to shift, and what can we start to shift?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to me, the importance of all of the neuroscience piece, the body work, the bottom-up approach, as we call them, is to support that we understand what it is for ourselves. How does it impact those around us with the co-regulation? And, you know, how are we attuning? How are we going back and forth with each other in good ways?
Right. Yeah. Love it. Yeah, that's been my experience this year. Definitely, I've been able to really, embody that experience. You know, going in, coming back out, and being present to what's actually happening. You know, being friendly with it and not trying to make it different, make it something that it's not already. So, I feel that, and I hear you. It's going in. So I thought that maybe if you had anything last to say, I just wanted to give you that opportunity to share anything to wrap this up, and before we go into a guided session with Tara Alain. Are you feeling complete?
I think so. Yeah, there's so much that could be said, but no, I'm very honored to have been asked to even just share a bit of my experience. So I'm good.
Good, awesome. Oh yeah, I just love that you came, that you shared, that you were here, and your presence is really appreciated. I loved your course, and so I highly recommend it. And is there somewhere where people can go to find out more about what you're up to? Dig more into some of the workshops that you are offering.
Connect with me on email, I guess, or on LinkedIn. I don't have a website. I'm not very technological by any means. And so the person who designed my card said, just put stuff in LinkedIn for now. And when we get you a little more savvy on this stuff, so I don't have a website, but I do have email, and that's gormanconsultingservices@gmail.com.
Yeah, and you do go in with teams as well, I think, to help staff in different groups to tune into the self-care piece. So, and yeah, thanks for advocating for that. Much appreciated. It certainly impacted me. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Shealagh.
Okay, so I am going to just give you a little description of Tara Alain. I hope everyone's doing okay. I've been really focused in on Kathleen, so I haven't really been tuning into the rest of you, but hopefully you're all doing well. Also, I wanted to just double check to see if there was a 1 sentence thing that Trina wanted to share, because I told her I would come back to her. Just one thing that maybe you thought the group might want to hear.
No, I'm good. I'm just holding space.
I promise
you.
To come back. So
I know. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome, dear. Okay. So, I'm going to talk a little about Tara Alain, who is eco-psychologist, and she did a pre-recorded session actually just by the river in Squamish, BC here. She has been working at the Chopra Addiction and Wellness Center for the last, must be 7 years anyways. And she unfortunately couldn't be here this evening, but I didn't want her to force her to go outside in, the snow and the wet and the whatever it is they're going on up in Squamish. And we pre-recorded this session. And so it's a way of sinking in. So she's going to guide you along. She does mindfulness in nature workshop sessions, 8-week sessions. So she's certified through the University of British Columbia with the mindfulness-based stress management, as well as, she did study in the US for eco-psychology as well. So I'm going to tune that up right now and get that playing. And I know we're going to be a little bit off on our timing tonight, just a smidge. So we'll have shorter breakout rooms, but it just means that at the very end, breakouts can go longer than 7:30 for those people, PST, for those people who want to stay on. So let me try out my technological skills. And let's share this screen with you. So here's Tara and Alain, and I'll offer you just to get settled in and to a deeper experience here and take in what she's offering here.
So finding a comfortable position. And taking 3 deep cleansing breaths just to land at your own pace, breathing in, letting it all out. Your ankles, your feet, feeling the contact, maybe some sensations of tingling or heat, pressure. Now bringing your awareness to the base of your spine. And following up the spine through the low back, the mid back, the upper back, neck, and right through the head, right at the top of the head, so that the upper torso feels uplifted and moving upwards. And the lower part of the body feels connected and rooted to the earth. It's like a tree. Bringing awareness to your hands on your lap. Again, noticing if there's heat or tingling or pulsing in the hands. Getting a sense of yourself as a whole sitting here, the entire self.
Come on up. Sierra. Come on up, big girl. Come on, baby.
Getting any breeze on your skin, your face, your hands. Noticing the sun, the heat, the warmth. And if it's raining where you are, just Maybe lifting your face up towards the rain, allowing yourself to feel the raindrops splash on your skin, feeling the coolness and the wetness. Now opening your awareness to include the sounds around you. We're not trying to label the sounds. It's allowing ourselves to receive the sounds, the different volume and pitch, the intensity, tone, without conceptualizing, just allowing yourself to receive the sounds around you. Maybe noticing the sound that's the furthest away. And bringing your awareness to the sound that is most close up. Noticing the space between sounds. Noticing any points of silence. Now bringing your awareness to any smells. Again, we're not trying to identify any smells as far as labeling them. Just allow yourself to receive the different scents around you. Noticing how they come and go. Maybe you can notice the cool air going up into the nostrils, the warm air coming out onto the upper lip. Had a visitor. Now moving our awareness to any tastes in the mouth. What does the tongue feel like as you swallow? Now we'll bring our awareness to our environment, what we're seeing, visual aspect. Just slowly cracking the eyelids just a bit to let in the light. And as you feel ready, opening your eyes up more, so what's in front of you. And then again, raising them even higher, maybe to midline. And then upwards, as far as the neck permits. Allowing yourself just to sort of gaze around. Noticing how your body and your state of mind feels at this time. Noticing if there's a little bit more stillness, a little bit more of a quiet mind. Allow yourself to sit in this for a few more minutes. Whenever the mind starts to wander, just reestablish your connection with your breath, perhaps the contact with the earth, feeling the sensations with your sits bones and whatever you're sitting on. Now for the next 15 minutes is preferable, but whatever time you can put into it is always a bonus. To find somewhere that you're drawn to. It can be right in front of you. It can be something that you gazed at earlier. And so inviting you to go and spend 15 minutes with whatever that is, whether it be the bark of a tree or the grass in front of you. You don't need a large vista. It can be a 1-by-1 square foot area. Just really start to observe what's there. And again, try to go in with a beginner's mind of a not knowing. That would allow you to get curious about what it is that you're taking in and observing, witnessing. Trying to keep your comments to a minimum and just allowing yourself to receive, to be re-enchanted once again by nature. And when the 15 minutes is up, just to sit quietly with what happened, and maybe bring out your journal and write out how that was for you, what you felt in your body, the mind state, any new insights. Not that that's the intention. Allow yourself to just open up to the experience. Thanks for your time, and enjoy the next 15 minutes.
Hi. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that that was enjoyable for you. I certainly dropped into a good place for myself. I settled in because I was quite nervous about doing this for the first time, and I felt my body just really start to settle into my seat. So I appreciated that. So the invitation to enjoy nature at some point in the future, near future, we hope, is of course an open one, depending on where you are and time it is. People from all different parts of the world on the call at the moment. So I'm going to invite you. I mean, I love just the connection, first of all, before we go into breakout rooms, that the invitation for that was when Kathleen was talking about having a mindful experience and being with what's happening right now. That was just a really great guide for doing such things. Sometimes I need someone like Tara to, have her voice and her presence and the nature in front of her that I know so well, the beautiful river there, the river valley and the mountains, and even the dog visiting, popping his head up. I don't know, some people's eyes were probably closed, but he was a pretty dog. And I need that to come back to myself and remind me with the body memory that we can actually be in that state of receptivity, which is a place we can choose to be kind or not to ourselves in that moment, and even kindness to what's happening in the moment, versus, get out of my way. I don't want the moment to be like this. We can have the space to choose whether that kindness can come in or not. So yeah, the invitation is to come into the breakout rooms, and I'll give you a little setup. I don't know if we're going to need a breakout room. Doesn't look like there's enough people for breakout room, but maybe we'll stay together, and maybe I will just actually guide the experience through. So the invitation is to actually, we'll have people, if you're wanting to do it, and if you're willing to be seen and heard, which this is an opportunity, of course, for you to do so, is to come on one at a time and just share something that really inspires you from nature for a moment, and just just share an experience of something that truly inspires you from nature. So I'll see if people, oh, Kathy, do you have your hand up? No, I didn't think so. I was just joking. But if there's anyone here right now that has something just pop right up when I was saying that, something from nature that actually inspires them, yeah. Can I have one of these? Oh, we got two. Okay, ladies first. Mila.
One of the natural phenomenon that really inspires me is hearing the sound of wind in the trees.
Mm.
And it always surprises me because I don't actually get to a place where I can hear that very often. But when I do, it's such a reminder of the necessity of being still to hear something and to get that sense of the cleansing quality of the wind.
Mm.
And being moved by being moved by something, by being, those leaves are being moved by the wind.
Mm.
So that's what inspires me.
Love it. So I'll invite you to reach out and, you have a volume dial in front of you, and literally with your hand grab onto the volume dial of that inspiration of the wind in the trees, and have it, just turn it up or play with that dial and the volume on that experience inside you. And just tell me when you notice something go on inside.
Well, I'm getting more of a body memory now than an intellectual recorded.
Yeah, and where is that happening?
Full body, actually.
The whole thing, yeah. That's great. So just maybe you can contact that with your hand on your whatever part of the body, maybe that represents for all of it, and just contacting the experience for yourself, and knowing now that the power is in your hand to be able to actually not just tap into that, but actually to crank it up when you need to, and dial it back. The nurturing experiences that maybe aren't, like you say, you don't get to hear those leaves very often. So being able to tap into it even when it's not around can help fill the cup in those moments when you need it. And is there anyone else that has something from nature that truly inspires them that they want to share? Roger's there. Yeah, and are you unmuted, Roger?
I am, I think.
Oh, okay, perfect. So what is it?
Well, I'm just realizing some of us aren't in the northern hemisphere, but those of us that are, we had an eclipse about 10 days ago, and an eclipse of the moon, and I happened to be in Vancouver, in the city, with all the lights and everything, but it was just an extraordinary view of it that night, even in the city. And it was almost better because I was seeing it from the city. It was like, I don't know, I think the word that comes up for me is gobsmacked by it. And I just loved walking down the streets. I walked for about maybe an hour looking at it. And it was really such a beyond the planet scale of nature that really woke me back up to the greater scope of things in some way, just looking at it. And for a while, it almost looked like two spheres. It looked like you could see an image of the Earth and the moon at once up there in the sky.
Yeah.
And, I was really in wonder about it, and I talked to somebody about it, and they said, "Oh yeah, I've seen many of those or something." And I really, I don't know. And I think the last time I was like that, where I saw one that I was impacted, was when I was a boy. So that just really, yeah, it was truly otherworldly.
I felt the same.
And, it reminded me of the scale of nature and the scheme that we're miraculously strung upon.
Yeah, I love that. I had a shared experience with it as well. I was watching the whole thing and kept going outside. I couldn't stay away. So with that experience, and as you talk about it, again, I'll invite you to do the dial, reaching out and grabbing the volume dial on it, and then, having a little moment to play and see where it goes. If you're cranking it up, you're being gentle with
blood
it.
pressure going up in relation to it.
Really? It's really quite a powerful, the right brain believes that you're literally adjusting the dial. And so where is it happening? Where is the heart, first of all, right? Blood pressure.
Yeah, I just feel an inflation, overall inflation, yeah.
So again, holding the power in your hands to be able to dial in to nurture whenever you need it. I'm going